Alright, Cowboys Nation, get ready because today's video is packed with insider buzz, speculative fire, and some deep dives that could reshape the conversation around this team moving forward. No intros, no fillers, just straight talk about what's going on behind the scenes and what could be coming next. First off, there's a noticeable uptick in the idea that more trades are brewing on the horizon. Nothing concrete just yet, but when we see this kind of chatter, it's usually a sign that the front office is actively exploring ways to tweak and upgrade the roster. And let me be clear, this isn't just about filling holes or plugging gaps. The Cowboys front office knows that staying competitive in today's NFL means being aggressive, especially during the offseason. This isn't just about draft picks and rookie signings, it's about seizing the right opportunities when they show up, even if that means shaking things up in unexpected ways. We've already seen the Cowboys make some non-traditional moves in recent drafts. Since 2016, they've made a habit of moving up in the board, which historically hasn't been their style. That tells you something. They're pivoting. They're thinking long-term, but they're also not afraid to act in the short term if it means the roster improves. Now, that leads us to the trade rumors currently swirling. Some of the suggestions out there sound wild on the surface, but a few of them start to make more sense when you look at the context. One player in particular keeps coming up, and it's not even certain he's coming to Dallas, but the buzz around the trade involving him is getting louder and louder. We'll get to that name in a bit, but the bigger story here is how the Cowboys are reading the market. They're watching, calculating, waiting for the right moment. At the same time, there's a growing frustration in how football discourse is being handled. Let's be honest, some of the commentary out there is just plain embarrassing. People chiming in on trade value, cap space, or positional depth without understanding the basics of the game or the structure of NFL contracts. It's exhausting. And I've tried to ignore most of it, but when the same false narratives keep popping up in messages, comment sections, and even in so-called expert takes, it becomes necessary to push back. It's not about being negative, it's about keeping the discussion grounded in reality. Because if we don't push back, the noise starts to drown out the signal. And speaking of narrative distortions, let's talk about honesty. It's rare. Too often, people latch onto convenient takes or viral opinions without doing their homework. And yeah, sometimes I'll engage when I see this stuff repeated across platforms. Because the fan base deserves better. These aren't just hot takes. They're misleading. So today we're pulling back the curtain. No spin, no sugarcoating, just straight analysis. Now let's pivot to something more specific. The big update I hinted at earlier. Word is we might be seeing something major before week 1 even kicks off. There's still time for new developments. And let's be real. More trades are absolutely on the table. If something does go down, you better believe we'll break it all down right here. But this also opens the door for your input. What do you think should happen? If news breaks before the opener, drop your reactions in the comments. Alright, now let's zero in on Jalen Ramsey. This is where things start getting really interesting. Ramsey has been one of the more polarizing names in the league for a while. But lately, the noise surrounding him has been steadily increasing. There's a real sense that something could happen soon. Multiple sources are reporting that interest in Ramsey is higher than most people realize. And the timeline here is important. June is the key window. After the 1st of June, cap implications shift dramatically, which makes a trade far more financially palatable for the Dolphins. Right now, Miami has decent cap space. But that's a fragile situation. Ramsey's contract is hefty, no question. If the Dolphins were to trade him today, they'd be looking at some serious dead money. It would cut deep into their flexibility, forcing them to clear more room just to make that deal feasible. But after June 1st, different story. Suddenly, they can offload his salary with far less penalty. That's why this date matters so much. It's not arbitrary, it's strategic. And even though Ramsey carries some big numbers in the future, the current cap hit for a potential acquiring team isn't as terrifying as it looks. Sure, his cash flow is real. There's no escaping that. But in terms of actual cap structure, it's relatively manageable. For example, in 2025, his cap hit is just under $6 million. That number jumps to $18 million in 2026 and gradually increases from there. But if a team were to release or trade him in 2029 or earlier, they'd still have unused money lingering from his signing bonus. It's all about timing and structure. What matters most is the cash flow. Not just how it affects the cap, but what actual dollars are going out. Ramsey has a large bonus scheduled in the first week, which makes the overall structure a lot more team-friendly than it seems at first glance. You might be on the hook for $6 million one year and $14 million the next, but the real number to watch is how much of that cap space remains untouched. That flexibility could be huge for a contender. But here's the rub. The Cowboys, historically, don't like to throw that kind of money around for defensive backs. They're already paying one corner, and there's real hesitation about adding another premium salary at that position. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but it does mean that unless they move on from someone, adding Ramsey would be a major deviation from their norm. That's why when people start throwing around wild trade ideas involving first-round picks and star players, I start to get skeptical. Some of these rumors involve the Cowboys offering up a late first or a second-round pick for players that, let's be honest, haven't produced like stars in recent years. One name that keeps popping up is a tight end whose production has dipped since a breakout season in 2021. Since then, injuries and inconsistency have plagued him, and while his potential is intriguing, potential doesn't win games. You're not just trading for a name, you're trading for what they are right now. And right now, he's not putting up elite numbers. The comparison stats over the last 2 seasons between him and another tight end are eye-opening. One player has more targets, more receptions, and a comparable number of yards, even though the second player played in 3 more games. They've both had issues with drops, but the player with fewer receptions having the same number of drops? That's a red flag. And with a salary creeping toward $11 million, you really have to ask yourself, is that worth a second round pick? I don't think so. Not even close. This team shouldn't be giving up premium draft capital for a player who hasn't proven he can stay healthy or consistent. If he hits free agency next offseason, that's a different story. Then you can negotiate on your terms. But giving up assets now for a maybe? That's a hard pass for me. And let's be clear, this team doesn't have a habit of overpaying. They've let key players walk rather than blow up their budget. So the idea that they're going to suddenly overextend themselves for a tight end who's had more drops than touchdowns over the last 3 years doesn't add up. I'd argue the smarter move is patience. If you believe in his upside, wait until he's available without the cost of a pick. That's how you build sustainably. Now, back to the roster. There's a growing sense that this front office is weighing 2 trade options simultaneously, possibly involving a mix of players and lower-tier draft picks. But I'll say this, I don't see them making more than one big move. They've shown caution in previous off seasons, and there's no reason to think they'll go on a shopping spree now. Some media outlets have picked up on fan-suggested trades, like swapping a second-rounder for another underperforming player, which, again, feels like a stretch. When you break down the numbers, the logic just doesn't hold. It's easy to get swept up in name recognition, but the production has to back it up. One strong year followed by 2 quiet seasons doesn't justify that kind of investment. There's this idea floating around that maybe the Cowboys should trade one of their promising young guards. I've seen the takes. I've read the posts. Let me just say, it's nonsense. You don't give up a foundational offensive lineman with a 5th-year option and franchise tag potential just to chase a splashy headline. That's not how winning teams operate. If anything, the smarter play is to lock him down long term. And that brings us to Tyler Smith. Quietly, he's become one of the most important pieces on this team's offensive line. He's consistent, tough, and exactly the kind of player you want anchoring your front 5. The notion that they wouldn't prioritize his extension doesn't make sense. If you're going to shell out big money, do it for the guy who's been performing, staying healthy, and holding the line every week. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott expressed strong enthusiasm following the acquisition of wide receiver George Pickens, emphasizing how this new addition could provide vital support to star receiver CeeDee Lamb. Prescott highlighted Pickens' exceptional catching ability, noting that he consistently secures the ball with strong hands and a confident mindset. You watch the tape and you see a guy who can catch the ball. You put the ball anywhere near him and he holds on tightly. He's more than a 50-50 receiver. He treats the ball like it's already his when it's in the air, Prescott said. He also acknowledged the team's need for reinforcement at the receiver position, directly stating, "I know we needed help there. I know CD needs help." Earlier this month, the Cowboys acquired Pickens in a trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The deal involved Dallas giving up a 2026 third-round draft pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick, while receiving Pickens along with a sixth-round pick in 2027. This move reflects the Cowboys' aggressive approach in the offseason to strengthen their passing game after a disappointing aerial performance last year. CeeDee Lamb once again demonstrated his value in the 2024 season, surpassing 100 receptions and 1,000 receiving yards, but Pickens, 24, had a somewhat modest year by comparison. The former Steelers receiver recorded 59 catches for 900 yards and only 3 touchdowns in 2024, falling short of the 1,000-yard mark. Despite these numbers, Dallas sees great potential in Pickens to complement Lamb and widen the offensive threat. Following the trade, Pickens shared his excitement about forming a dynamic duo with Lamb in the upcoming season. Tactically, you can't double cover 2 guys all the time. I just want to contribute to winning. That's what matters here, he said, expressing his team-first mentality. Prescott echoed this sentiment and added perspective on the overall receiver group, praising other players like Jake Ferguson and Jalen Tolbert and Jonathan Mingo for their ability to create separation and impact the game. I heard George talking. It's tough to double 2 players. When you have other guys with reputations who know how to get open in the NFL, I think we're building a solid offensive unit, Prescott noted. The trio of Prescott, Lamb, and Pickens will have their first chance to showcase their chemistry in the 2025 season opener on September 4th, when the Cowboys face off against their fierce rivals and defending champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. The game, set to take place on the road, will be a crucial test for the revamped Dallas offense as they aim to make a statement early in the season. With renewed firepower and a clear goal to boost their passing attack, the Cowboys look poised to challenge for top honors in the coming year. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.